I mean, before we do this, how dangerous is this?
Go, bear, go! Go! Get out of there! Get!
Here we have our state animal that had come back from the brink of extinction.
What an incredible snake.
There he is. You know you have a bear.
Never been a part of a manatee release. You're about to go home.
The average for an adult about this size is usually about 10 boat strikes.
Holy crap.
All of these are barriers to wildlife.
We know what we need to save, and we know when we need to save it.
My name is Chad Crawford. For the past 15 years, I've introduced viewers to Florida's wild beauty. But right now, the paradise we know and love is being threatened like never before.
We are way better than this.
Join me as I meet the men and women fighting for our future. We'll dive headfirst into the environmental challenges threatening our way of life. This is our paradise. It's time to stand together to protect what we love. From time to time, I have to stop, take a moment, and realize that I get to live in one of the most beautiful places on Earth. It's the wild animals that live here that give Florida its wonder, its mystery, its wilderness. But our wildlife has paid the biggest price for our progress, forcing animals into smaller and smaller spaces. So how do we ensure these animals that were here long before us will still have a place to be wild?
There are very few other animals that symbolize wilderness like bears do. And without them, I think we're all much worse off.
Mike Orlando is a bear biologist with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. He leads a team that manages bears statewide. Mike and I are en route to a home that's had a few close encounters with a large black bear.
Tell me a little bit about this bear and this situation here.
Yeah, so we've had a bear, and it's been getting into their garbage. But this bear has been kind of getting a little bit more bold, so he's not only getting into the garbage, but he's also kind of hanging out in their yard. So hopefully we could catch this sooner, where he doesn't escalate that behavior.
How did this whole process start here for you?
Yeah, so 3 days ago, we came out here, we set the trap all up. We put cameras out, and those cameras actually send us images from the trap in real time.
Okay.
Last night, we ended up having the bear show up, and so there's the picture of the bear in front of the cage, and then the very next picture is the door shut and him inside.
There he is. So you know you have a bear.
Yeah, no, we have a bear, and it matches the description of the one that they were talking about. Not only do we want to catch this big, powerful animal, but we also want to do it safely. These traps have been designed to make them safe for bears, safe for people. Having those cameras on it actually gives us even more ability to monitor the traps to make sure that the bears aren't staying in there for too long. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. I know.
Oh, man. What's going through this bear's mind right now?
In general, in the wild, bears aren't really aggressive towards people as a rule. He's basically trying to communicate with us the best he can to say, I'm upset. We want those animals to be a little uncomfortable, a little bit of hazing going on there, teach them that humans aren't good.
My first reaction was, I felt sorry for the bear. But Mike explained that the trapping process is all part of conditioning the bear to fear humans, and that could ultimately save his life.
In this situation, the bear wasn't only knocking over the garbage can, but also it was just hanging out. There's a step there, step there. We worked out a long-term solution first. We're going to fix your trash problem. Then we're gonna give us a little bit of breathing room by catching this bear and relocating it. So we're gonna take counterbalances down, hook it up to the truck, and take him to his new location.
Such an incredible animal. Oh, holy crap.
He's not happy.
He'll be happy when we let him go, though. It's really about managing the conflicts through education and outreach. We really use this program to get humans and bears to coexist.
As our ecosystems have become more fragmented, we now have these isolated bear populations, and it's so important to be able to find connections between these so that wildlife can move between one area to another.
A study showed that future land development will increase our need to coexist with wildlife. By the year 2060, the eagle is estimated to lose 1.9 million acres of habitat. The Florida panther, 300,000 acres. The gopher tortoise, 700,000. And the Florida black bear will lose 2.3 million acres of habitat.
You know, one saying I've heard come out of your agency is a fed bear is a dead bear. Is that a true statement?
For the most part, we're talking about animals that are being conditioned to coming around people, finding food sources, and losing their fear of people. Bear breaks into a house, hurts a person. We have to catch that bear and kill that bear because of a public safety threat. It's absolutely devastating to us. We don't want to do that.
The Florida black bear population has increased significantly over the last 50 years. We were at a low of about 300 bears in the late 70s, and through our conservation efforts, we now have over 4,000 bears in the state of Florida.
Where are we taking this bear?
So essentially what we'll be doing is driving to a pretty remote part where there's not a whole lot of houses.
All right, buddy, your new home.
We try to get them out as far away as possible in good bear habitat, and then we will, turn them loose out there, and hopefully he becomes a wild bear again.
He's ready to get out of here, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's ready to go. Yep, still closed. You never get used to it.
I mean, before we do this, how dangerous is this?
As soon as we open up the door, he's out in the wild. And so we've never had a bear come back and turn on us or anything like that. Nobody's been injured doing this. We're gonna actually climb up on top of the trap. We're gonna tie some lines to the hooks. And once those hooks are up, the door will slightly open and we can push down on those counterbalances, open that door wide open. Up, ready? On three, 1, 2, 3. Come on, bear, get! We're screaming and mad and banging on the trap and all that stuff, and that gives them a negative experience with us, and that's what we want them to take away as they're tearing off into the forest.
Go, bear, go! Go! Get out of there! Go!
Oh my gosh. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, he's cooking too. He's breaking through all those bushes over there.
You can still hear him running through the woods.
It takes us 4 or 5 days to catch this animal, and it takes them 5 seconds to leave that trap and disappear into the forest.
Should we be afraid of bears?
I think you should have a healthy respect for bears. Bears could be dangerous, they could hurt people, but if you have that healthy respect for those animals and you don't give them any reason to come into your yard, they're just another wild animal out in the woods that, you should enjoy when you're out in the woods. We really don't have a choice.
All right, get in the water.
We need to be able to live in these areas with all these wild animals.
Our population growth has put an urgency on protecting land for our wildlife. In response, land conservation groups, individuals, and politicians have joined forces to map out what's known as the Florida Wildlife Corridor.
The Florida Wildlife Corridor is a landscape now recognized by the state of Florida, 18 million acres, 1/2 of our state by land mass. And it's a connected network of public conservation lands, that's 10 million acres of public land, connected to 8 million acres of mostly working lands, cattle ranches, citrus groves, working forest. And together they provide the backbone and the fabric of wild Florida.
In the beginning, Florida was one big wildlife corridor. Animals could freely move from the Atlantic to the Gulf, from the Keys. If you step back and see how Florida is, or almost any of our developed area now, it's crisscrossed by roads, interstate highways, fences. All of these are barriers to wildlife.
In 2015, a Florida black bear demonstrated the importance of connected land.
M34 was a young male bear that changed our view of the landscape, if you will. M34 was kind of an afterthought when we first caught him because he was small. But then 6 months later, without warning, M34's track just launches off in these long, straight runs. This huge kind of epic adventure ensued. It was stunning to see how easily he moved through the landscape, bypassing obstacles, avoiding conflicts, and surviving. In front of our eyes, we were able to see, yes, in fact, animals can navigate through this landscape.
Science has driven these decisions from the very beginning. Science tells us what habitats we need to protect.
So our Florida Wildlife Corridor, spanning the state, what it provides is what we call room to roam for our larger, wide-ranging species like the black bear or the Florida panther. Ideally, one of our wide-ranging species would be able to navigate this greenway, this path, from the Everglades to the Panhandle.
Another species that relies heavily on the corridor is the scrub jay. In the last century, this bird's population has declined by 90%.
Florida jay, or the scrub jay, is Florida's only endemic bird, which means it's the only bird that only lives in Florida. It has very specific habitat needs. It relies on scrub that has to be managed by fire because it's a fire-dependent resource. And so when you lose scrub, you're losing that habitat, and that's why they're a threatened species and why we're in danger of losing them, because everybody wants to build on the uplands and build that new house.
The more I learned about the panther, the more I realized it was the ultimate symbol of the Florida Wildlife Corridor. Here we have our state animal that had come back from the brink of extinction, and from as few as 20 animals to nearly 200. That has a home range of 200 square miles and needs a ton of territory. The only way they're going to recover to a genetically stable population is to have access to a wildlife corridor throughout the state.
You have to do more than just protect large natural areas. You have to provide the connectivity in between.
To fully complete Florida's wildlife corridor, land conservation groups still have millions of acres left to protect.
We see a map and we have a plan, and we know what we need to save, and we know when we need to save it. And if we can do that, if we can make those choices, we'll have a connected corridor for the future of all Floridians.
No other snake has captivated so many like the eastern indigo. Its long, bluish-black body is a striking visual.
Indigo snakes are one of the most rare snakes in Florida. If you are fortunate to see one in the wild, it's a pretty special moment.
Well, it's absolutely gorgeous out here, and we're going to release some eastern indigo snakes. It's FWC, Fish and Wildlife, Nature Conservancy, all-star cast out here.
I was invited to join a long list of conservation groups to release these snakes at a preserve in North Florida.
Today we're going to have a lot of fun. This is a culmination of a lot of work.
That's wildlife biologist Brad O'Hanlon. He'll be my unofficial snake guide for the day.
Brad.
Yes.
3.
Perfect.
Everyone split up into groups with the goal of releasing 19 snakes.
It's hard for me to believe the snake that's in this bag can eat a rattlesnake.
Indigo snakes have a super wide prey base. It's not uncommon to hear about an indigo snake eating a rattlesnake or eating a copperhead. And part of the reason why we chose this site for the relocation, we've got plenty of rattlesnakes there, plenty of copperheads there. He's going to be the most powerful snake in the landscape in the sandhills, so he'll have pick of the litter with anything else that he comes across.
Our first task, to find an active gopher tortoise burrow.
Brad has found a gopher tortoise burrow, and he's kind of scouting it out, making sure that, I guess, it's safe for us to walk over there. You like what you see, Brad?
Yeah, I guess just before we approach the burrow, there certainly are venomous snakes around, so keep an eye out where you're putting your feet.
At one time, these non-venomous snakes thrived across Florida, but over the last 30 years, their numbers have significantly dropped.
The eastern indigo snake is an example of our loss of a species because of loss of habitat. An example of why we need to protect habitat and the right kind of habitat for specific species.
There it is.
Home.
I can't believe I'm about to get to hold an eastern indigo snake.
This is a lot of work from a lot of people, and here is the result.
Oh my gosh, incredible. What an incredible snake.
This is our federally threatened animal, and all this work is going in to hopefully recover the species, or at least get them more abundant in the Florida Panhandle than they currently are.
What's so special about these snakes?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at him, he's a pretty large snake right now, and he's only 2.5 years old, so think about 3-4 years down the line, he starts to be full grown. That's going to be a pretty impressive animal on this landscape.
So we're at a gopher tortoise burrow. Why here?
So this is what the snake would know as home in the wild. That tortoise burrow is going to maintain constant temperatures and offer shelter, somewhere for the snake to hang out where it figures out its landscape.
All right, you ready to release him?
Yeah, let's do this.
Is he going to go down that hole, you think?
Oh, I think so.
All right, let's see.
And there he goes.
Oh, man. That was cool, sir.
Yeah, you did great.
That was incredible. What an experience. You can see his tail down there just a little bit.
I was impressed with the collaboration of the many organizations that made today possible.
This snake is going to go make some babies, going to restore this population.
Joining forces to ensure the eastern indigo has a future in Florida.
So we're going through downtown Fort Pierce here. We are heading to release a manatee. Never been a part of a manatee release, have no idea what to expect.
We're gonna unpack our gear and we'll head on over to the ramp and wait for her to get here. I grew up always wanting to work with marine mammals. I love working with manatees. They're very gentle. The manatees are very iconic to Florida. They are the state's marine mammal.
Today I'll be joining Amber Howell in the FWC's Manatee Research and Rescue Team.
That's Bombay right there.
Amber and her team rescued Bombay when high water levels from a hurricane trapped her in a retention area with nothing to eat.
So when we rescued the manatee, we could actually see her ribs. She was very thin, so we knew that she had to go into rehab instead of just being relocated.
She spent over 6 months recovering, where her sores healed and she gained 300 pounds.
Several of us will go up and shift the animal back centered on the stretcher and get ready to pull it out. So under the manatee, they're putting these rolling straps.
These rolling straps allow the team to maneuver this almost 1,700-pound mammal.
Good gosh.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
It took 20 volunteers to slowly slide Bombay out of the truck and into position. Whenever a manatee is found in distress, the FWC is contacted to determine if a rescue is needed.
We do respond to marine mammals at all hours of the day statewide, and we're also out there doing research every day, so we're looking for animals of concern. All of our staff are highlighting her scars with this grease marker. This helps to highlight the scars for the camera to go into our photo ID database.
These prop scars are like manatees' fingerprints, and they're used by agencies to identify them in the wild.
Look at how many prop scars are on this manatee. Is this common?
So she's definitely encountered a lot of vessels. The average for an adult about this size is usually about 10 boat strikes.
I mean, I'm literally counting at least 10 different separate boat strikes here.
Manatees don't really have predators. Their biggest threat is unfortunately us.
Whether they're fatal or not, manatees do get hit very often. So our message to boaters is always just look for those footprints, which is gonna be a swirl in the water behind where the manatee is traveling, and then just avoid those shallow seagrass beds where we know that manatees are feeding.
So Amber, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so this is the last step of the release process. She's gonna get the satellite tag put on her. So this is a belt that's gonna go right around her peduncle, so that's the thinnest part between the body and the tail. In the last couple of years, manatees have faced a lot of challenges, and one of them being a decline in seagrass beds on the Atlantic coast.
Thousands of acres of seagrass in Florida has died because of nutrient pollution, which has caused algae blooms, leaving manatees without an adequate food source.
So one of the things that FWC is doing in partnership with U.S. Fish and Wildlife is a temporary feeding station where lettuce is being put out each day for manatees in hopes that that will temporarily fix the problem until the seagrass beds restore for manatees to start feeding on their own again.
And you guys are tracking her why?
She was emaciated when we brought her in. She had those ribs showing, so we do want to make sure she's finding food and going the places that she should. We're curious to see, where she's feeding, what she can tell us about the species right now. So if we can learn about her, we can help learn more about the population.
Back in the 1980s, we started to really notice a decline in manatee populations. Some estimates manatees were down to almost 1,200 left.
You're about to go home. About to go home.
The Save the Manatee effort was the first real conservation effort around protection of a single species.
2, 3, try to keep walking. I think Florida should be very proud. We are a well-oiled machine when it comes to rescue and rehabilitation. We work with numerous partners throughout the state, and we just can't do it without everyone's help. She'll go on her own.
She's floating.
There we go, there goes
All right. I mean, what's this like to see Bombay swim away like this?
And she's home. She should know this area. She'll get moving in a little bit. There is no longer any walls near her. She can go wherever she pleases.
You feel good?
I feel great.
I feel good. Good job. Good job. Well, what'd you guys think? What an incredible experience to see all this involved. All the agencies, everybody who comes out here to rehab these animals is pretty incredible.
So what does this relationship between us and wildlife look like 20, 50 years from now? Well, that's for us to decide.
Go outside, enjoy nature, And if you get to see a bear, sometimes it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
We are managing these resources. We are conserving this state for the people.
Everything that we love about this state is going to rely on purposeful and strategic land conservation.
My hope is that the more we can celebrate and show the majesty and the diversity of these places, the more people will value its protection.
At the end of the day, it's our responsibility to ensure our wildlife has the habitat they need to thrive. So where do we start? Well, we can start by demanding our leaders make it a priority to keep more of Florida wild. Want to protect our paradise? Visit conservationfla.org.